was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago, Bulletproof Radio with Dave Asprey, and he was interviewing Jack Canfield, who's the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul and just an amazing business person. And they were talking about folks in college transitioning into careers afterward, and Jack introduced this concept, which I just loved, called Premature Optimization, which is basically before you understand what all is available to you or what the options are, you optimize around something too early, prematurely. And I think that happens a lot with folks in college, where you're going into college at 18, you don't have a ton of life experience, you've probably only ever lived at your parents' house, and then when you go into college, you're being asked to choose a field of study that you're going to have throughout the 4 years there, and then presumably going to go out and get a job afterwards. And it doesn't have to go that way, but I would say that the normal college experience is once you pick a major and you get to the end of your senior year, it sort of feels like you're doing it wrong if you don't go get a job in what you studied, because you just sank all of this money and time and energy into studying a particular area. So that's what tends to happen a lot with folks, is they'll go get a degree, business communications, what have you, they'll go out and they'll get a job, realize that they don't necessarily like that, they don't like the industry, they don't like the role because they picked it when they were 18, but they've now felt like they've invested all this time and they need to stay there. And so it becomes this cycle of sunken cost, sunken investment, and looking at when's the right time to actually make a move. And it gets harder and harder the longer that you stay in a career, the longer that you stay in a particular job. Because then you also have societal pressures. People are getting promoted, your friends are getting new jobs, making more money, starting families potentially. And so it becomes harder and harder to decide to make that jump, make that move into something else. This is something that I definitely experienced when I was in college. I felt like when I went through this 4-year business degree, I first needed to be working for a big company, so I went and I interned with a big company, and then I felt like, oh, I need to be, at a startup because that's impressive, and then I need to go work at this, much larger brand name technology company, when really all along what I wanted was to work for myself, make my own schedule, and just do whatever I wanted to do all the time, but I didn't feel like that was necessarily an option. And the way that I got there was through taking risk and through choosing to go out and experiment and try different things. And so that would be the thing that I would encourage all of you to do, is really get a sense for and stay attached to the long-term vision of your life, because it can be really scary in the moment to decide to go out and do something completely different. But I look at it as two different options, because one is you continue to stay in this role and in this job that you really don't like, that you're disenchanted with, that you're bored of, where you don't get to show up fully expressed and be 100% yourself for the long term. Or you take a little bit of time, you get uncomfortable, maybe you leave, maybe you go find a different job, maybe you even move home, and try something else out for a little bit of time. And it could take a year, it could take a couple of years, but in the grand scheme of things, in 60 to 70 years, I would much rather spend 2 to 3 years figuring out what it is I actually want to do outside of what I studied, outside of what people think that I should be doing, so that I can spend the rest of my time enjoying my life, showing up 100% fully expressed, creatively, powerfully, confidently, and really giving this entire experience my all. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you feel stuck or unfulfilled, I'd love to chat with you. This is the exact work that I do with clients, is to get really clear on what it is you actually want to be doing, what's the end experience and the end goal that you actually want to create for yourself, and how do you start to take steps towards actually creating that.